Welcome to Caldwell County Today. I'm David Hill, your host. And what we're going to do today is take a look back at the city of Lenoir. As all of you know, Lenoir has just completed their ceremonies for their sesquicentennial celebration. City of Lenoir is 150 years old. So what we thought we would do is try to find a bunch of old pictures and take a look back at what Lenoir used to look like and what it's looked like through the years. And there's a gentleman in town who either has or took or has come into possession of a lot of old pictures about Lenoir and Caldwell County and the people and places. So we asked him to bring actually just pictures of downtown Lenoir because that's what today's program is going to be like. But he's got so many other pictures that we're probably going to ask him to be back on with us sometime later so we can do another show on some of the other pictures that he's taken. But for today, we're just going to take a look at some of the pictures that he has of downtown Lenoir. And these are pictures that probably start back in the early 1900s. Perhaps there's one even back in the 1890s, but certainly all through the early 1900s up to probably 1960-some. But joining me to talk about these pictures and for a little brief history of photography is Joe Hartley. Joe, I do appreciate you being with me today.
I'm glad to get invited.
Well, Joe, before we start looking at the pictures, and we don't want anybody to go away because we're going to look at these pictures and talk about these pictures in just a moment. Okay, Joe, before we look at the pictures, let's talk a little bit about some of this equipment that you brought with you, and these are just a very few of the cameras you've got at home. Is that correct?
Well, this camera, a lot of the pictures that you'll see is made with a camera like this. This camera's about 80-some years old. You put the film, it comes in a cut film holder. This goes in the back, and you have the film in it. And then you have to have it on a tripod. You can't hold it. You put this in it, you pull the dark slide out, and then that exposes, your film's ready.
Yeah.
After you get it in the camera. Then you go ahead and you focus and snap it just like any camera. And there are not very many left. There are very few of these that's used.
But now this is a working camera?
This does. It works.
You can take a picture today with that?
You have a picture that I made with it.
Okay.
The one with the Ball Hill office.
Yes.
And this one, it's a later model. It's a Crown Graphic. They made them for years, up and even in the 70s. And it does the same type of cut film holders. And they're a lot of people use them still today. I use this one all the time. It's a good late model camera. And this, it's just a modern camera. It's a zoom lens and all. It does all of this stuff. And then this little fella, it's for the idiots. That's the reason I bought one. You just put film in it and mash the button and you get the picture. That's
all
it.
right, but the quality picture...
They're good. They make good pictures.
Good?
And those things are not cheap. They're up $150 and $200.
Yeah.
But they make real good pictures. And these four cameras, you can do about anything you want to with them.
Yeah. Joe, how did you become interested in photography?
Well, in 1939, I bought a roll of films, and me and this fellow, a friend of mine, we developed it. We developed the backing paper and throwed the film in the floor. It was in the dark. We didn't know that. We had never done it. Well, that's the only time that ever happened. But I made a lot of pictures for the school annual in 1940, and just bought on a box camera. And after that, I just enjoyed taking pictures, and I built me a dark room where I could develop and print them myself, and that's been going on since 1939.
You got your own dark room at your home?
I've got my dark room. It's equipped real good with enlargers. I guess I've got about the only 5 or 7 enlarger in North Carolina. I know there's not many. The big companies might have them, but for these this big camera. You don't have to have them, but I've got all my darkroom's equipped real good.
But now, this photography that was just a hobby for you,
That's
wasn't
all
it?
it is. It's a pure hobby.
So
And,
this is a hobby you've had since 1939.
1939. I've made pictures of the 40 flood.
But you also have a lot of pictures that were made by other people.
I've got a lot of them, yes.
How did you come?
Dave Rufty, a professional photographer here in Lenoir for years. I've got about, I guess, 250 negatives that he made with a camera like this, 4-5.
Uh-huh.
And his daughter gave me the negatives and permission to make all the pictures that I wanted to. I've never copied a picture that I didn't get permission to. See, it's against the law.
Yeah.
It's against the law to copy a picture.
Yeah.
And I've never copied a one without I had permission. And she gave me, they must be 200, I don't know how many negatives, the finest negatives that you'll find. Now, Dave Rufty was a real good photographer. And then, old gentleman here in Lenoir, Ben Howard, he was a city engineer back in 1925 and 28. He made a lot of pictures here in Lenoir, especially Green Mountain Park. They built the dam for city water. He engineered all of that. And I bought about 30 or 40 negatives where he had made building this dam.
Yeah.
And I owned a lot of negatives, and then I've got some that has been loaned to me. And but I've got, I expect, 1,000 negatives that covers this part of the country.
Yeah. Now, we're going to take a look at some of these pictures that you brought with you. Now, and I don't mean to put you on the spot as we go through here, because I'm going to ask you a lot of questions about the pictures and where they are and so forth. And I have an expectation that you know everything, but if you don't, what we'd like to do is ask the audience, actually, if as we go through these pictures, you recognize some place or somebody, just get in touch with us so we can identify these pictures, because we do have some pictures that have lots of people in them, and I know Joe doesn't know everybody in every one of these pictures, but we're going to go through these pictures now, and as you recognize anything or anybody, please get in touch with us so we can identify them. But we're going to start, Joe, with a picture that perhaps is from the, what do you think, 1890s maybe, or?
At least that. It's no later than that, I'm sure.
But that's a picture of somewhere in Lenoir. I'm not really sure
I don't know.
what street it is, but maybe if we went out and tried to identify some of those windows or markings on the buildings, we could figure it out. But not a lot of cars in that day.
No, and that's a steam-operated vehicle behind them.
All right, so that vehicle that's being
Whatever it might be.
that's being drawn by these, I guess these are steers. I don't think they're oxen. That's some kind of steam.
So, yeah, it's some kind of steam engine on it.
Well, and speaking of steam vehicles, here we've got a picture of the Lenoir Fire Department on Mulberry Street. A horse-drawn fire truck.
One of those horses is named Ned. I used to know the names of the two horses now, but I don't remember them now. And I've been told who these people are, but I don't remember them.
All right. Well, again, anybody watching today's show.
Oh, there's a lot of people can tell you.
If
The old firemen, they can tell you all about that.
yeah. Well, Joe, here's another fire truck picture. You got the monument right there in the background, but Not really sure what was going on this day. Don't have any information about when this picture was taken, but it seems to have been a popular place to be on this day. All right, now here we have the first engine on the turntable in Lenoir.
Yeah.
And it says that Columbus Weathers was the engineer. And he's the guy in the white shirt sitting up in the train.
Well, one reason I was interested in the trains, my dad was a conductor on the CNNW, went to work January the 1st, 1915. And I worked on it 35 years, and I used to ride that train often with him. And I got interested in trains through him.
Okay, Joe, here's another picture of that first train that came into Lenoir, October 1886. The conductor was Horace H. Beard, and the engineer was Columbus Weathers. Well, Joe, we've dug up some other photographs of downtown Lenoir. This one that we're looking at now, the monument was erected, I think, 1906, somewhere in that neighborhood, but I think this picture probably is up 1915, somewhere right through there. That's the old, or the courthouse, that large building on the right that we're looking at. And of course, we're looking down the street over the top of the monument. Horse and buggy days, obviously still, but if you look over on the left, that does seem to be a motorized vehicle sitting on the side of the street over there on the left side. Well, Joe, here's another one of those old pictures. This is downtown Lenoir. This is the square. This picture was taken about 1895. That large building over on the right with smoke coming out of the chimney is the courthouse. And then that building on the left is, if you can read that sign on the side of it, it says the Charter Oak Hardware Store. Now, I don't have any information about the Charter Oak Hardware Store. I don't know exactly what that was, but you can see even back then as it is today, the center of town was a gathering spot. Here you've got all the folks who've probably come into town on a Saturday perhaps, or on a day of court, coming in their covered wagons. Now we have a very nice picture of Westman's Store. This was owned and operated by Gustavus Westman. I'm sure he was a good German, and was located on Lot 6, one of the original lots in downtown Lenoir. Westman purchased this house, this property, in 1873 for $1,000. And the store was right there on the square, and it faced onto the square. Joe, I think this is a picture from 1928.
That's
on Zach's Fork.
one of the pictures that Ben Howard made, building a road in the Green Mountain Park. With this, that's Alice Chalmers tractor, I think. Anyway, and then this road scrape behind it. But now that's one of the pictures that Ben Howard made.
So they're actually building a road.
They're building a road.
Because that's a scrape blade.
That's a scrape
on the back of that thing. Now here we have a picture of the buildings on West Main Street in Lenoir. We've got the Lenoir Book Company, Teague's Studio, it says, up there at the very top of it. And of course, we see Lenoir Drug Company. I don't know.
Lynn Bernhardt told me just recently that this wall, you'll see some of his pictures after a while, he was above McNary's drugstore. His office, his studio was up there back in the early 20s.
Okay. Now, here's one of these pictures that
That's his, one of the wall.
is one of the wall pictures. We really don't know who these
Don't
two
know
guys
who
are,
they
but looks like the license tag on that vehicle is 1930,
30, it's 1930, and
and obviously they've been fishing.
have no idea who they are. But I'm sure they're from Caldwell County, I would
Yeah.
say.
But two guys were fishing sometime in 1930, fly fishing,
They're trout.
and got a mess of trout. All right, now here I guess is one of the wall
It's
pictures,
the wall, yeah.
and
I don't know the years these automobiles are made, but
I'd say those are in
they're late 20s,
the
early
20s
30s.
and maybe early 30s. Of course, we're looking down the street. The monument is down there in the middle of the street. We've got a hotel and a cafe over here on the right
Gateway.
side. The Gateway. So this is a picture,
Bernhard Siegel's is across the street.
Bernhard Siegel over here on the left side. So this is a picture from late 1920s, early 1930s.
Somewhere in there, it has to be.
Now here is just a gathering of some old guys, perhaps a gathering of some old Confederate veterans.
As far as I know this one man I pointed, Mr. Jim Bryant.
The one under the first M in
M, yeah.
community.
He was raised right above where I was, and I remember him back in the late 20s and 30s. I knew him well, and he died in the 30s. And
Jim
he was
Bryant was his
Jim
name?
Bryant. Now, I know that's him,
Yeah.
no question.
Well, they got a Christmas tree or something there in front.
I don't know what that
I'm not
is.
sure what that is.
It's not a very elaborate thing, but it's
Well, again, here's one that's
later.
perhaps up in the 40s.
Yeah.
And we're looking, maybe Christmas time, I don't know. I don't know if that's Christmas
Yeah,
decorations.
it is. It's
over
Christmas decorations.
over the street there. But is that looking down Harper, or we need to...
Yeah, the monument's up there. It looks
Yeah.
like the same way the other one was.
Okay. Now, here, Joe, is a picture if you were in the front of this building today, looking straight across the street,
It's right across the street from us.
was
I
J.C.
don't know who's
Penney.
in it.
Yeah, I can't remember who's over there now, but this is J.C. Penney Company, right across the street from the County Administrative Building right now. I think the little thrift shop perhaps is in there. I can't remember what's in there right now. Now this is a picture, again we're up in the 40s I believe, but Sunny Day Coffee. This was
Walter
wholesale.
Wholesale coffee. Now that's down below the old post office, going down towards where you turn up to the old depot. It's still there. The buildings are all
Buildings are
still
still
there.
there. Now, I believe this is a picture of an old hotel,
Carlisle Hotel.
which is where, I guess, Cornelia's up there
is
now.
now, yeah. This is a station between it, and then this is Dr. Wilson's house right here. His office was in that house, so Dr. Wilson.
The house on the far right
Yeah.
side. And of course, the hotel's been torn down, and
It's gone.
now here we have what today is
Western
Auto, but what was it during this time?
Smith Crossroads, that's where they originated, the Ford Company, with Irvin Smith, and a man from Morganton, I understand, run the Ford place out of this building back in the early 30s. And this other fella died, and Irvin Smith bought it out.
Right.
And he run it there for a few years and then moved out to the Crossroads. His daughter told me that they built the Crossroads in 44 and 45 was when they built the garage out there, and then they moved out there after that.
And we've got some pictures of the Crossroads
Yep.
we're going to look at in
Right.
just a few minutes. Now here's a building that's just across the street from us, but down on the corner. But
Yeah.
early on, that there's not even some buildings
There's nothing
built
around
next to it.
That's DeMitt. Mr. DeMitt had an insurance company there, and that's the Fidelity building.
And of course, if you cross the street to the left of it, that's where the
old
post office
Yeah,
is.
the post office.
Now here, Joe, it looks like we got some old hearses or something out there.
That's a Greer Funeral Home. One of these hearses, if that's what they are, is a LaSalle. Because this man told me he used to drive one of them. So I don't know which one it might be.
Yeah, and they made, well, I don't know about this one on the left. I don't know if they're really hearses or not. And I don't think, perhaps they were just ones that the families rode in. But the funeral home was in this home? Was in that
Yeah, it
house
was
that we're
in that
looking at?
home. It's all torn down, gone now.
Yeah.
It's just down the street from here.
All right, here we have a picture of downtown Lenoir, or uptown, whichever way you're looking, I guess. The building that we're looking into that is in front of the car on the left is the current day Lenoir City Office building.
Right. It was First Union National Bank then, I think that's right. That was a long time ago. And then McNair's is beside of that. And then there's a Pender's, and I don't remember that store, this one.
Yeah, and then
There's a bookstore on the corner.
and then the bookstore on the corner. Eford's
And Eford's is
Down on the-
across the street.
down on the next street. Now here, I think, is another picture of that wholesale
Yeah.
company
Well,
that we were
that's right,
looking at
yeah.
just a little while ago. The Walter Turner Company Wholesale.
And
And right down the street from it is the world famous Caldwell Wine Shop.
this is Stroop.
Stroop's
Yeah, this
Grocery.
is Stroop Grocery.
Uh-huh.
I didn't know they had a wine shop in this town, but they did.
Yeah. And they sell quality wines.
Okay.
At least that's what the sign says. Now here was the Lenoir City offices and the Lenoir Fire Department right next to
Yep.
it. Now where is this building today, Joe?
It's gone. It's a
That
parking lot.
building, all right, this building no longer exists.
They tore it all down. It's a parking lot now.
And just looking at that car, perhaps this
He
was
was the city manager.
53.
Poe is his
72.
name.
Okay.
I think that's right.
Okay. Now here, and I'm not sure that this is in Lenoir, somewhere here in the county, but
I can-
looks like we had a train crash.
I can tell you, I remember within 30 minutes after that happened, it was in 1948, I believe. My dad, this train was coming from Hickory to Lenoir with 2 engines and a long train. My dad, he was the conductor. He was in the caboose, which is way down near Kincaid Furniture at that time. The first engine got across this trestle. The second engine, the trestle caved in and dropped it. It's right there. Killed the fireman. He was a Martin. The brakes went into emergency course as soon as they broke the airline. And that was the only man that was hurt. But my dad was in the caboose looking at all of it because it's a long left-hand curve.
Uh-huh.
This house is still there, right today. And that was 1948, I think.
Okay. Joe, I think this is a picture of,
I've asked, I don't know how many people, where was that at?
Where?
Nobody knows.
nobody knows.
I don't have any idea where it's. I'm sure it's in this town because all the rest of them was. But I don't know that.
But, what was that? That's hard to read that. Does it say Gulf?
It's a Gulf
It's
station,
a
yeah.
little Gulf station.
I have no idea where it's at.
Very nice place, very well kept, really
And
clean.
there's a big warehouse or building behind it.
Yeah. Got the lift over here to the left side of it. I guess if they needed to work on a car, they just pulled over to that.
Yeah.
And
I'm sure
Jack it
somebody
up.
will see that and tell us where that's at. I would like to know.
yeah, again, this is one of the pictures we sure would like to have some more information on. Okay, Joe, here we've got Downtown Lenoir, I guess, sometime during the Christmas season.
Dave Refty made that. I believe it's in 1251.
December 1951.
And I don't know how he done that with the camera, just like we were looking at a while ago, a 4x5, and how he made that picture, I'll never know. But it's one of the finest pictures I've ever seen.
Yeah.
I bet I've made 100 of them for people, give them to them. But it's a real good picture.
Now,
This was a 47. This is a 47 Ford, I know.
yeah.
But it's made in 51.
Now, do you think that's a
No.
Christmas ornament, or is that the
It's a
moon?
Christmas ornament. It's not the moon. I think it's got Ready Kilowatt on it, which was years ago was the Duke Power.
Yeah. Now, a while ago, we talked about across the street was the old post office building, but here's the post office building before it was old.
Yeah.
So this was,
I dated the ones where he dated.
yeah. So really not sure. Probably in the 40s, maybe in the 50s.
Yeah, most of his was after 48.
Okay.
He got out of photography school in New York in 48. Refty did.
Okay. Now here's a pretty good shot of the monument when it was still in the very center of town, and looking at those buildings behind it, that at the very far left is the current day courthouse. So just to give people an idea of the direction we're looking in, that the building on the left is the courthouse. But the circle, Joe, I guess lots of stories about that circle.
That's the Hedrick. That's Hedrick Building, Duke Power, and Lee and Robbins over in the background over there.
Yeah. And I don't know about here on the far right.
That was furniture.
Some furniture,
yeah.
Frigidaire, Philco.
I don't remember which one it was.
And
Blackwelder Hospital.
Blackwelder Hospital, 58 maybe, somewhere right through there.
I don't, it's after 50, I will say that.
Yeah, these look like 57s or 58 vehicles there. But that's the Blackwelder Hospital. Well, Joe, the next picture we're going to show actually is one that we just took the other day. This is a picture that's going to show Blackwelder Hospital as it appears today. And as you know, the city of Lenoir is in the process of having the building torn down. So this will be a vacant lot probably sometime soon. And then here is a picture of the almost new Caldwell Memorial Hospital.
I'm not sure about the date. Nope, I didn't have that on it. I don't know. Well, I'm sure it's in the 50s.
Yeah, those look like maybe 52, 53 vehicles there, but
Yeah.
that's what Caldwell Memorial Hospital looked like a year or so
was
after
a
it was
pretty
built.
building then.
All right, now here we are back downtown. Late 50s probably. That looks like maybe a 58 sitting there. And that's the courthouse right there behind it.
And the Avon Theater, it says greater than ever out on the front of it, Gone with the Wind.
Gone
It's
with
come
the
back.
Wind.
And Polly Craig, he's a city police, he's standing right beside this car. He's a little feller. Polly Craig.
That guy, that
He's
policeman
yep,
right there?
He's a policeman. And then on this marquee up here, it says Gone with the, but greater than ever, Gone with the Wind.
All right, Joe, now we got another picture of downtown Lenoir. We got a shoe company over here on the right side, and
Gene Miller, he was the clothing man for years on the corner.
And
That's on the square. Only we don't see the monument, but it's
the monument would be to
there.
the left of this picture, and actually, if we were away from it to the left, that would be the courthouse again, right over there. So just a nice sunny day in downtown Lenoir. Now this picture looks like, again, during the Christmas time, the streets are decorated. That's looking back up to the center of town, up West Avenue, I guess, isn't it, Joe? We got Dave Alt's drugstore over here on
that's
the right.
Dave Alt's, and then there's on up to Eford's.
Got Eford's up there in the middle of on the right. And I guess we're down here in the bottom right would be coming out of the post office parking lot.
Close to that, yeah.
Close to that vicinity. Now here, Joe, is a picture of Bank of Lenoir. And just to the left of it is the Farm Bureau Insurance Company. The W, is that W or M.L. Clay Mutual Insurance next to it? But
Somebody said this is a Mercury automobile in the early 50s, I don't know.
Yeah, these are early 50s. Got the street lights positioned about halfway up the poles, and Bank of Lenoir. And what I want to show you now, Joe, is another picture of Bank of Lenoir that's perhaps newer. We got
His name.
they got the name up on the top of it, and the street light, they modernized them and moved them up to the top of the pole.
Yep.
And we got a dentist's office right there in the center of the building. But that's a good look. And to the far right of this building is the current day Lenoir City Office building. This is not a real old picture, but this is a good picture of.
I made that a couple of years ago. Went ahead and made it, done all this stuff, and looked in my old truck sitting right in front of it. I didn't know that.
You didn't know it. But from that old truck sitting in the middle of it, we can date this picture, but that's a picture of I guess it's really the last remaining building from Davenport College, current location of the Historical Society. Now, earlier we talked about Mr. Smith. And here I think we have a picture of Mr. Smith and his daughter.
That's Dr. Shaw, his wife, Frances, and Irvin Smith. She was, I don't know, somebody said this car is a 33 or 34 Ford. I don't know which it is.
Yeah. But he was still, his business was still uptown Lenoir at this time.
Right. He was still up at the Western Auto, where the Western Auto is now.
Where Western Auto is today. And then Lenoir, of course, has gone through a lot of changes over the years. This, perhaps, when was that monument moved? 1963?
It's on the back, I believe.
So I think 1964.
Yeah.
So here we have the scaffolding and the crane in place, getting ready to lift the crane, or lift that monument to move it over here on the side.
And you can also see the Avon Theater up here again in that
Yeah.
one.
Well, things do change. This is, it looks like the inside of perhaps a dry cleaner.
That is the, look on the back, it'll tell you.
That's the Piedmont Cleaners.
Piedmont Cleaner. Now, one of the fellows is still living that run it.
Okay. And here is a shot of the inside of.
I have no
just
idea. It's a store in town, but I have no idea where it's at.
I don't know if it's just general merchandise. Looks like we got some butter churns
Yeah.
up there and some glassware and stuff.
It's an Abernathy dentist. It's on the sign back there. I don't have any idea where they was at.
Okay. And here we have the inside.
It's inside
one
of the bank
banks.
in Lenoir, is all I know. See, all these are 5 or 7 negatives that the old brothers made, and they was all made in the 20s and 30s, so I don't remember that.
Well, I don't know if they were concerned about Bonnie and Clyde or anybody like that, but they've got the sign on the front that just plainly tells you that the time locks on the safe don't even open till
I know.
9:30. So if you're going to rob the place, I guess
They
just
couldn't, they
wait
had to wait
till
like
9:30 to come.
Yeah.
Carolina Stores Incorporated.
I guess I've asked 50 people where or what that was. Nobody knows.
Nobody else of Carolina
Yep.
Stores Incorporated. Again, if anybody sees that and knows who or where that is, let us know. Joe, the next several pictures we're going to look at are pictures of some old houses in town.
I know where that's at. There was a Sprinkle Oil Company coming in North Main Street in Lenoir, across the railroad, and the Sprinkle Oil Company. And then the next one was a veneer mill, and then on up above that, before you get to the stoplight, the present stoplight, up on the hill on the right, that house is still there. And I was told that Sprinkle built it. I don't know.
Yeah,
The different people lived in it, but it's still there.
still there today. Now here we got a little winter scene.
Don't have any idea.
No idea where that one is.
I know there's snow on the ground, that's all. I know.
We got snow on the ground.
Yep.
Not really sure where it is though.
I'm at a loss.
Well, we got a fire hydrant out in the front. It's got a sidewalk in the front of it. Well, maybe somebody will recognize
Somebody
that
will recognize that.
and give us a call.
I think that's a house, you go down Norwood, below Rusty's house and turn left. I believe it's High Street or something like that.
Uh-huh.
That house is out there.
Okay.
I think that's the one. There's another one that looks just about like it, which I think that's it.
All right. Now here we got a nice little
I know where
shot.
that's at now. And look what a pretty picture.
Oh, that's a beautiful picture.
The Catholic Church on College Avenue is right at the very corner of this house.
On the
Now,
right, on the right side.
They don't, yeah, but that's to me is a pretty picture. I'll say something that Harold Hartley told me one time. Harold he had 380 some cameras when he died. And I'd made a picture and I took it to him. I thought it was real good. He said, well, let me say this. He says, the beauty of a picture lies in the eyes of the beholder. So if you think it's a pretty picture, it's pretty.
It's a beautiful
I don't care what
picture.
somebody else thinks about
That's
it.
right. All right.
That's out. I think that's out on West Harper. It's either the Bell House or I'm not sure.
Okay.
I've seen it, but I'm not sure about it.
Would that be perhaps the front of the current day hospice building?
No, it's not that. I'm not
Yeah.
sure about that. There's another one
Well, yeah.
almost like it, and one of them, Harper Bell Home, but I don't know which one it is.
Yeah. Now, Joe, I know this next picture is nowhere close to downtown Lenoir, but
That's, I'll not tell you who that belonged to, but the deputies were there to chop it down, and the news topic got Dave Refty to go make a picture of it just before they done that.
yeah.
Well, the fellow that, and his sons that owned that still, the boys down there in the woods hiding when they was chopping it down, and the man seen that picture, and it tickled him. He says, "I've got to have 10 of them for the boys."
Just a little bit of Caldwell County history there. Caldwell County Creamery. Got two guys down here on the
Yeah,
lower left side.
that's a Bentley Roofing building now. It's still there. Now they built another building. They attached that one to the coffee place below that. That we were looking at a while ago.
Yeah.
And the Stroop Grocery, that building, that's all, they fill that in. I don't know what's in it, but I don't know who the two people are on the corner. Somebody will see it, they'll remember.
Yeah, somebody will remember.
Hopefully.
Now here we got a picture of a cow pasture.
Grover Triplet had a dairy there. Percy Delrick made that picture in 1946, and then he turned around and looked over towards Zach's Fork and made a picture looking towards Blue Ridge Electric. Now, it was just a field then, so that was made in 46. By Percy told me that's when he made it.
And of course, that cow pasture is not there anymore.
Broad Hill's office is there now.
Broyhill's main office sits right there in the middle of that, what used to be a cow pasture. Well, Joe, we just happen to have that picture that you were talking about. So this is a picture taken at the very same time, just shooting across 321 over in that pasture that you see over there now is where Blue Ridge Electric now sits. Well, Joe, before we leave downtown Lenoir, maybe it's appropriate that we take a look at this aerial shot. And again, this is before 1964, because 64 is when they moved the monument out of the center, but not really sure of the date of this one, but that's a very good shot of what downtown Lenoir looked like.
A big park right over here then.
In the upper right of this picture.
And that's where the spa was.
Right.
And the drugstore on down the road. But that's all been, I think Bernhardt's owned that at the time, and it was a big park.
So we got the traffic circle there in the center of town, there to the...
And you can see the Avon Theater down here.
Yeah, got the courthouse.
Yep.
And to the left of the courthouse is the Avon Theater, and then, what was that, a gas station or something here on the far right? The far left?
The number 2 cab station was there. It was a service station.
Okay. Okay, that's all the pictures we're going to look at today about downtown Lenoir, but that's just give everybody a little glimpse of how downtown Lenoir's changed over the years. And earlier we talked about Smith's motor company moving out of downtown Lenoir out to what is now Smith's Crossroads. And we have some pictures of what Smith's Crossroads used to look like. And I think this may be one of the earliest ones you've got, Joe, but that's That's what Smith's, well, it can't be Smith's Crossroads. There's not enough cars at it. But
That's the
it.
original of the garage. It's just a rectangular building. Now, the building on up was Bush Motor Sale one time. Rooster was in it.
The one there at the top center.
He was in that one time. I don't know when it was, but he was in it. And then, of course, this is the Smith's house. Irvin Smith built that. But that's one of the oldest of the Crossroads that I know of.
So we got 18 running left to right or right to left, whichever way we look at it. But that's 321 diagonally up the page.
Now, they don't have them up in that picture, but a little later they put stop signs up on 321. But that was they hit it up.
Yeah, and these are not stop signs like we know today. This was just a big old sign that said stop.
Yeah, that's it.
And it was
I didn't think they had. I didn't see it.
Yeah, here in this picture we get a better idea of what the stop sign looked like across the top, but they also had the modern day stop sign down on the ground.
And a big one on the other side, the big hex sign.
Yeah, great old big one there.
And that's the motel. Yeah, it's in the background.
But this, the Highway 321 traffic had to stop for the 18 traffic. And that's the Smith's Crossroads Motel, and next to it was the restaurant, Smith's Crossroads Motel office.
Motel, yeah.
And it's open, it says. What were those other buildings up?
That's the motel.
That's the motel up there on the far right side.
Yeah.
All right, now here's another picture of the Crossroads, but it's no longer a crossroads, it's a circle.
After the Crossroads, they went to a circle. And it didn't prove out.
But that's a good picture, though, looking up 321,
that's 321 north.
Going up into the mountains. Well, but it certainly has changed over the years. I guess where the building is now, the Smith's.
It's the Burger King.
I guess that's the Burger King
like
now. And then here, I believe, is a picture taken probably at the same time or close by, just looking up the 18.
It's the Eckards is right over here. That's never been filled in. And here's the motel.
Yeah.
But that's never been filled in with dirt.
Yeah, so the current day Eckards is the bottom center of this picture as we're looking at it.
It's right down here.
Yeah. Now, Joe, we're looking at an aerial photo that it's got Smith's Crossroads up in the up near the upper right-hand side of that picture, and of course, you still got the car lot and the motel, or the hotel rather, there at the Crossroads. And if you follow 321 from right to left, there at the top of the picture, you can see, except for the car dealership and the garage, there's really nothing at all on 321. Quite different, of course, from today. And then if you come back to Smith's Crossroads and come into town on Harper, you see there's no McDonald's, there's nothing that we would recognize today. Well, that's all the pictures we're going to look at today, but as I said at the beginning of the show, and if Joe's willing, we'll have Joe back again to talk about some of the other pictures he has. But before we go on to something else here, we've done programs on the Wilson Creek Wild and Scenic designation before, and I'm sure if you haven't seen those programs, you've probably seen a lot of written material about it. Last year, the Wilson's Creek area was designated wild and scenic. A lot of work went into that, but a lot of people don't know that there are a lot of pictures and history that went into putting all that wild and scenic designation application together and so forth. And actually, Joe Hartley had a large part in ensuring the success of that, because Joe was able to give us a lot of pictures and information about the history and so forth up there. And Joe, I know a lot of people in the county are appreciative of all the efforts that you put into that Wilson Creek project.
Well, I've told this story quite a few times, and I always thought it was real interesting. The train went to Edgemont in the summertime on Saturday evening. It left Lenoir at 4 o'clock. It took a couple hours. It didn't go fast. Go up Wilson Creek. Well, Daddy, he was the conductor on it, and I'd go down at Blair's Fork Church, and the train said they'd stop, and I'd get on. And it went up on Saturday afternoon, but it didn't come back till Monday morning. They wanted to stay up there over Sunday. They had the Rainbow Camp Girls was up there in the summer and different things, but I got on one day and went with them. Well, just this side of Edgemont, the train stopped. Well, they had a big old burlap sack that the man almost where we're at, within 100 feet of here, had a store, and they bought chickens, and they dressed them. Well, when they cleaned the chicken all off, they put this stuff in a burlap sack. And the train men, one of them would come by and get it. Well, just before they got to Edgemont, train stopped, 2 of them got this sack, took it off down to Wilson Creek in a big hole of water, and they had a wire tied to a tree. Well, they wrapped that wire around that sack and throwed it out in the lake, the river. They would go on to Edgemont. They turned the train around. They had a big Y up there. They turned it around and get it bedded down so it's all right. The railroad had given Daddy a 60-foot baggage car, and they pulled it up there and unloaded off the rail and put cross ties in it, and he lived in it. That was his house every other night. He had some big, long cane poles. They must have been 18, 20 feet long and light as a feather, with lines and hooks already on them. Well, they'd get 2 5-gallon buckets, and down the creek they'd go. They'd get down there, they'd pull this sack out, and they would look like 100 catfish sucking on this sack all over it. The catfish from Brown Mountain Beach would go up there, just full of catfish. Well, one man, he'd get his pole, get it ready, and then the man way over to his left is a man with a 5-gallon bucket, and the same thing on the right. He would swing his pole around, the man would bait it. Well, he'd swing it back out in the water and drop it down. As soon as it got in the water, a catfish got it. He'd hook it out and bring it back over. He'd take it off and put it in the bucket. Rebait the hook, and he'd go back. The other man's doing the same thing. And them 2 poles moving like that. And they'd get, I don't know, 30 or 40, I don't know how many catfish they caught. And I didn't see any big ones. Then they took them back to Edgemont and went up to the opposite end of the old depot. They had a 2x6 nailed up, and they had about 4 20-penny nails drove through from the back side, and they were sharp. And they would hook that catfish over that nail and skin it. They could do that in a minute, and they're the prettiest, whitest meat. They'd dress all these catfish. Daddy'd get him what he wanted to eat. They'd take the rest of them over to the hotel. And Granny Seahorn, I seemed like was her name. They eat catfish for supper. But I watched that happen, and it made a dent in my little brain. I never have forgot. See, them poles are working, them catfish are coming out of it. But they done that quite often, not every week, but quite often. That's something to eat.
Well, it worked. It was a good technique. Joe, we looked at some of your pictures. We probably covered over 100 years worth of history in those few pictures that we looked at. Was your interest in photography, or was your interest in history? I
don't know. At that time, I mean back in the 30s, late 30s when I started, in the 40s and on up through there, I just liked to make pictures and then come back home and develop them and print them. I had a little printer and box cameras, and I didn't have an enlarger or anything like that, but I just enjoyed doing that, and I've still got a lot of pictures that I made back in the 30s, 40s, and 50s, and I just enjoyed doing that and still do. I went out yesterday and made a bunch of pictures, and I just like to do that. It's just, to me, it's, you get your mind off of a lot of things you've got no business thinking about. So if I make it till March the 17th, I'll be 79 years old. That's a lot of years. I'm lucky. I've had a lot of good years. And I was in China. I made pictures in China in World War II. I was in Shanghai one time after it was liberated, and I bought a camera. I've got it at home now, and once in a while I use it. And I don't know, I just always enjoyed making pictures. And I've went to Mount Mitchell one time. Me and my friend made some pictures there. I come back and I ordered me a roll of 30-inch wide enlarging paper. It was 10 feet long. And I got the top of the Mount Mitchell. There was ice on the trees. No, it wasn't that one at the time. Anyway, I made these pictures. Well, I got back and I had to expose them in my dark room. And then I had to take them to my bathtub and poured the developer in the bathtub and developed it. Then I drain that out and wash them, then pour my fixer in the bathtub and fix them. And I still got one of those pictures that I made with Grandfather Mountain, and that was in the early 50s. But I just enjoyed doing that. So I've enjoyed, all these years I've enjoyed making them. I developed a roll of film yesterday. I went out yesterday and made one.
Well, and I guess we don't realize the importance of pictures. You take somebody like Matthew Brady. Had it not been for Matthew Brady or the people who worked for Matthew, I'm not sure.
Nobody would know.
Yeah, I'm sure that
nobody would know.
Nobody would actually have an idea of what the Civil War was actually like. But I'm glad you do what you do, Joe. And
well, Hal, my oldest brother, he was a warden at Edgemont for years and out in the woods always, and he made an awful lot of pictures, and I've got quite a few of them.
Well, if you don't mind, as we can get some time to get back together again, we'll take a look at some of your old pictures about all the different industry in the county. I know you got a lot of pictures about a lot of the old industry.
Factories, I've got them when they right after they was first built. I guess the oldest one I've got is Jonas Furniture Company, and it went busted in '29 when the stock market fell, and so I've got quite a few old
Well,
ones.
and we'll get back together again and take a look at those and let the people see some more of those pictures you've got.
Well, let's say this: I enjoy it.
Well,
And I'm glad that I was invited, and I hope the people that sees these, I hope they get as much out of seeing them as I have making them and keeping them and looking at them.
all right. Well, Joe, thanks very much for being with me today. And as we've gone through the pictures, as you saw, there were some that we didn't really know who the people were, or actually where some of those houses were. If you recognize any of those people or any of those places, please call us 757-1300 and help us identify those people. And we're going to have Joe Hartley back with us sometime soon to talk about some of the other pictures that he's got. So, Joe, as quickly as we can get together, we'll show those other pictures and perhaps do 2 or 3 more shows.
Hopefully we can do that.
Okay. Joe Hartley. Certainly appreciated Joe being with us today. Well, I hope you've enjoyed today's program, and we're going to have Joe back again later to look at some of those other pictures he has. And I hope you've enjoyed it. So thank you very much for watching Caldwell County Today. This program is a production of the Caldwell County Public Information Office.